In video games, male characters appear more frequently, talk significantly more, and engage in more noted behaviors, like achieving and showing leadership, than female characters. Racial stereotypes widely exist in mass media as well. For instance, black men are more likely to be portrayed as criminals. Asian men are usually portrayed as culturally ignorant, while Asian women are portrayed as submissive. Compared to male characters, females were more likely to be represented in a hypersexual way, being partially nude, featured with unrealistic body image, and shown wearing sexually revealing clothing in inappropriate attire.
The earliest I can remember playing video games was ColecoVision. Wasn't when it was new because that was like the 80s, I think, so I wasn't even born. But I think probably when I was about 6 or 7. I also remember playing like Duke Nukem on my dad's computer, but probably about 7.
7.
So about that 17 years, almost 17 years.
For sure. What platform/console do you prefer?
Currently, I play on PC now. Before that, it was Xbox 360. I just got sick of the console. I mean, if I wanted better graphics and I wanted the gameplay, so I built my own PC. But I also work for Nintendo, so I also play my 3DS a lot, and my Wii U, because you can't get those games on PC.
What types of genres do you play?
Pretty mixed. I like first person shooters, third person shooters. I'll play an RPG here and there. RTSs, I really, Age of Empires, Command and Conquer, I like the classic ones. I don't like the StarCraft or the newer ones that much. And then a lot of platformers.
Sure. When playing video games, do you see yourself reflected by the characters at all?
Not so much. And that's probably just because of the genres I play. Like in Skyrim, right, you can kind of create your own character and you can mold them to yourself. Like same with Dark Souls too. You can create your own and make them reflect yourself. But in a game like Mario Brothers, I mean, I don't see myself in Mario, or like Gears of War. I don't see myself as Dom.
Sure, sure. How do you feel if a game character does not relate to you at all? Do you care? Or?
I'm not really affected by the characters so much. I think that we've come to accept them as separate entities.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I think maybe we used to put ourselves onto them because we couldn't really see them, but now we create characters with so much detail that it's really hard to look at them.
For sure. Let's see here. Is there a common age, gender, and culture reflected in video games that you play? Do you know of?
I'd say there's a common
I guess is it target a certain age?
Yeah, I think games tend to target that whole 15 to 25 range, and in the games themselves, I'd say that's pretty reflected based on. I mean, when was the last time you played a game where the characters weren't white males in their early 30s, late 20s? I mean,
Sure.
like when you don't play those games, really, they don't exist.
Exactly. Have you played games where you felt characters relate to your personality? It's like you said, like Skyrim and
Yeah,
other
I
games
mean-
think of, or?
I mean, there's games where you make your personality, and everything you do is based off your personality, like the Fallout series, the Skyrim series.
Mhm.
Is every action you take, you base that off what you would do. I mean, that's how you're supposed to play,
Mhm.
but people play it, I'm going to just kill everything. I'm not going to kill a thing. There's different ways to play the games. So I think if you go through a game that reflects yourself, I mean, yeah, it would probably be a little different, but
For sure.
it'd be interesting to see. I don't think I've usually done stuff that I just thought would be the most fun path.
For sure. Do you prefer games that would help you relate to title characters, or do you like playing games without characters that are different than you? With characters that are different than you?
I don't really like when a character relates to me. I like because then I start to put myself onto it too much and I think about that too much. I'd rather just play a game where it's different. Everything's different, and maybe it's not the decision I would make, and it would keep me on my toes more.
Sure. And the final question is, how do you feel about people speaking out against video games that their cultures and ages and genders aren't identified in the games? Do you think that it's a thing that the industry's doing altogether, or certain programs or companies?
I haven't read about anybody like reaching out really. I mean, there's probably the women in gaming kind of idea, but I mean, if you don't like it, yeah, I mean, you can speak out about it, but why don't you make your own game? I mean, do it then, right? You know, it's easy to say, I don't like something, but if you're not willing to change it or try to change it, then you can't really argue. Like, if that's, somebody wanted to make that, and so that's what they made.
Yeah.
Yes, it might have something you don't like or something that's missing, but if you can just make your own game, that's the beauty of it is, you know, I mean, look at us making a game, Construct 2. Just go ahead and do it.
Exactly. How long have you been playing video games for?
I started playing, I think it was around my 6 years of age.
For sure. What platform / console do you prefer?
I always prefer to play on consoles. I have not a specific console that I like more. The one I played more was the Xbox 360.
What types of game genres do you play?
My favorite types of game are definitely fantasy games, action, adventure, and role playing.
For sure. When playing video games, do you see yourself reflected by the characters at all?
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. Can you give an idea of any game that you do see yourself?
Well, there is this particular game which became one of my favorite games, which is The Witcher, Assassin of Kings, the second of the trilogy. And I really could identify with the character for its philosophical way of facing, you know, things such as what is bad and what's good, and somehow how society can create monsters where there are not monsters, and the contrary to how monsters can be concealed by the society.
For sure. When playing video games, how do you feel if a character does not relate to you? Do you care at all, or?
It depends on the kind of game. As I like fantasy, for example, a lot, it's not difficult for me to come up with a game that I don't have nothing to relate with the character, like a character without a background or something. But the more you, as I have played lots of games that has this kind of atmosphere and stuff, it's somehow easy to me to, when I am playing this, to relate with stories I already have been through, and so in these situations it's cool. But when the character has no background at all, like let's say Jetpack Joyride, a more mobile game, I think it gets boring.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. Is there a common age, gender, and culture reflected in video games that you play?
That I play, I don't know. From age, I think not. It depends more on the gender and the gender of games, not like male or female, but like if it's a fantasy game or a more realistic approach, or it is a futuristic game, I would say always fantasy.
For sure. Do you prefer games? Yeah, so do you prefer games that, again, with the lead title character as someone that is a lot different than you and your life and your personality, or would you want to see characters that are more relevant to you, your situation right now, like a college student? How would you want to see a game character in your mind?
I think when the character is really awesome and you can relate to them, it's just great. You kind of feel good about yourself too.
For sure.
But I don't know, I can also play with characters that has nothing to do with me, but they have like a different way of viewing things and I like the characters that really make me think about stuff. And
yeah, for sure. And the final question is, how do you feel about games that reflect only a certain age, gender, and culture / nationality overall?
I think they are limited somehow.
Hmm.
They can really affect a big. They can. Oh, fuck.
No worries, man.
They can affect
Yeah.
really
Sure.
a mass of players, a big mass of players.
Yeah.
But they can be. This can limit a game if it's done. Just like let's do a game to be a girls' game, or
Yep.
let's do a game just for kids. I think this is not the focus of what a game should be. I don't know.
Designed as kind of thing.
Yeah,
For sure.
but maybe when it comes to a more gender like style of game, if you do like I don't know, racing games are for people that like cars and stuff. And for example, the Need for Speed series.
Yep.
Mostly related to the more underground and those street races. They are really made, I think, for a public that likes, tuning, and maybe people that like Fast and Furious, this kind of stuff.
Certain group of people kind of thing.
Yeah, it might be good for inserting those people in the gaming community,
Right.
because otherwise they might really don't want to play a game instead, unless it's something that really relates to them.
By doing my interviews, I realized that probably every individual gamer will have their own view on how they think video game companies should represent society in general, but broken down into age, race, and gender. Generally speaking, minority ethnic groups such as Black and Hispanic appear less frequently in video games. For example, there were 26 human characters on the cover of 19 games. 22 were male, while only 4 were female. In addition, among those human characters, a majority of 84% of them were white, while 4% were Hispanic and 12% were black.